So this is my palette after finishing the painting of the foal of his body, and then I went around the outside, coming up to the foal. And so now I'm going to show you how I do the rather loose, suggestive background that I plan to put into this one. So I start by mixing up some colors, various tones of lighter to medium tones that are using the colors that I've already used in the foal. Need a little more yellow in here. I want some of the same tones, just variations of. That will pick up the colors that I've used in the foal. And I'm going to need a fair amount of paint. I'll thin this with a little bit of a medium. That gel medium up the top of my palette is probably what I'll use because it keeps it a little bit stiffer than the linseed oil and it dries a bit faster. So it's a water-soluble gel, but you can use linseed oil or you can just use the paint itself. So just continuing to mix a variety of colors. I want some warm and light kind of brown colors. I want a little bit of the bluish tones. I want a little bit tending towards green. All of them fairly muted and fairly light. And of course, I'll want them to match some of the colors I've already used painting around the outside of the foal so that I don't have to paint right up to the foal again. This painting is fairly large, 36 inches by 18 inches, so it's going to require a little bit of paint to cover it. Plus, I'm going to paint the sides of the canvas. It's on a gallery wrap canvas. So I'll also paint the sides in the same kind of mottled effect, but a little bit more blended. So I'm going to paint this with a stiffer brush. I'll use a Rosemary synthetic flat, but you can use a bristle brush, you can use a filbert shaped brush, whatever you like. So I just start by reaching into the colors using the same brush because I don't mind if the colors get all blended together. As you've seen before, when I paint, I typically change brushes a lot so that I can keep my colors nice and clean. But in this case, I want them to blend all together. So just moving from one color to the next, working my way around the whole painting. So as you can see, as I've gone around the edge of the foal too, I haven't stuck with one specific color. I've put some of my browns, my greens, my blue tones. And I'll somewhat mimic those colors as I get into the painting. And I'm keeping these fairly loose so that I can have a little bit of variation of texture. Sort of a contrast to the more detailed areas of the painting. And every once in a while, I'll throw in a little bit of knife work just to move the paint around, to leave some of that texture there. You can apply the paint quickly with a knife. I'll come back in with the brush, or I'll just leave it with the knife strokes only if that's what I like. Typically, I fill in most of the area of the background, and then I go in and touch it up here and there, just to make sure it's all covered and to make sure that I like the texture wherever I've put the brush strokes and the knife work. Just continuing around the painting. And I'll carry on, and once I get this all covered, I'll show you a little bit of a close-up look of the finished painting brush strokes so you can see them up a little bit closer, maybe pick up a little bit more on some of the texture. So here are some detailed shots. Of course, the camera's going to mess with the focus and the lighting a little bit, but this will give you an idea of the variation that is brought into the background and how it compares with the detail of the foal itself.